What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well today. And in this video, I want to step aside from the overall struggles of the team and focus in on the struggles of one particular player. I'm talking about Derick Hall, the second round edge rusher, drafted 37th overall, so very close to a first round pick, actually. And his rookie season has not gone according to what people were hoping. It has not gone according to the plan that you would have drawn up after Nwosu got hurt in particular. I think that if you were writing up the script for how things would go after Nwosu got hurt, it would have involved somebody like a Derick Hall stepping up, improving quickly, taking up more snaps, making a bigger impact. And by the end of his rookie year, you're feeling really good about where his career is going. But that hasn't happened, and honestly, it's kind of been the exact opposite for Derick Hall. So let's look at a few different things here with Derick Hall, and I'm going to compare them to our previous second round edge rusher, which is, of course, Boye Mafe, and what he was doing his rookie year to kind of highlight why people are disappointed. So Derick Hall gets drafted almost in the first round, but he's a high second round pick. And there are a few different elements at play here. First of all, just the numbers. He has he has been active for every game the Seahawks have played this season. He has 0 sacks. He has 4 hits on the quarterback. He has 26 tackles. He's made 1 tackle in the backfield, and he's knocked 1 pass down. He's been very, very lean in terms of his impact on the Seahawks through the first 12 games of his NFL career. So we have the pure statistical comparison. If you go to Boye Mafe's rookie year in 2022 and you look at what he did just raw statistically, it wasn't amazing, but he did have 3 sacks. He did have 41 tackles. He did make a few plays in the backfield against the run as well. He had 3 TFLs. Now, he actually really wasn't that much more impactful as an all-around pass rusher. He had 4 QB hits, same as Derick Hall. But you can see very clearly that Boye Mafe made a bigger impact on the Seahawks than Derick Hall is making when you're comparing them as rookies. And keep in mind here, before we move on to the next couple areas, Boye Mafe came out of that draft and it was known that he was raw. It was known he was going to need some time. It was known that he was not going to come out of the box and be this great edge rusher. He needed at least a year before he could really ramp up. So the fact that Boye Mafe is beating Derick Hall here is troubling. Now, the second area, and I would argue this is even more important, is playing time. You look at Derick Hall and his playing time early on in the season, he was playing a healthy amount 20, 24, 33, 27 snaps. Started to get cut after the first month of the season 12, 18, goes up to 30 for the Browns, 25 for the Ravens. And that's all well and good. I don't have a problem with that. That's roughly in line with what we were seeing with Mafe his rookie year. But the last month, Derick Hall has basically not been on this team. Over the last 4 games the Seahawks have played, since that Ravens game, and I know he didn't play well against the Ravens, he missed some tackles, he made some mistakes. That probably led to him getting doghoused a little bit. We have seen him play a grand total of 37 snaps. So he is averaging about 9 snaps a game over the last 4 games. In our most recent game against the Cowboys, the defense played 89 snaps, and he had 4. This is notable because we have not had Uchenna Nwosu at all. And this has also been the stretch of football where we've had Frank Clark. So, do you guys do you guys understand the weird imbalance here where you lose your best edge rusher, you try to pick somebody up off the street basically to help mitigate his loss, and you're clearly hurt by the loss of that edge rusher, and you're not really getting anything out of the guy you tried to sign to replace him, so you would think the young guy with clear potential and talent would get a bunch of playing time, but instead his playing time has shrunk to basically nothing. He may as well have been inactive for most of these last few games. He has made no meaningful impact at all. 9 snaps a game may as well be 0 snaps a game, and what really are you missing? In the case of Boye Mafe, there were some up and downs early in the season, just like there were with Derick Hall, but throughout the entire year, outside of, I guess, the Rams game, the game in LA, Boye Mafe was consistently getting a workable number of snaps, a meaningful number of snaps. By the end of the season, he was regularly getting over 20 snaps a game. Outside of this 2 game stretch against the Rams and Panthers, where he played about 28 total snaps, he was consistently getting on the field for a little less than half of the snaps. And that was, there are a couple different reasons why that might be, but we had Uchenna Nwosu last year. We had Daryl Taylor last year. So we didn't have to play Boye Mafe a lot. If we really didn't want to, we didn't have to, but we did. Clearly because we feel like he's actually making a positive impact on the team, and we're feeling like apparently Derick Hall does not. And finally, I want to look at PFF real quick, and you guys know I don't use PFF as gospel, but I have to at least take notice when they tell me that Derick Hall is playing bad football, like really bad football. 46.5 PFF overall grade that's bad. His run defense grade in particular is atrocious, and it leads me to believe that he's so bad against the run we view him as unplayable, which is why he doesn't play right now. And it's not like his pass rush grade is particularly good. It's okay. I could live with this. I would have no problem living with this if he was workable against the run, but you put these two things together, and if this is how he is actually playing, then I see why we're not letting him play. There's no value in it. There's no point. I still wonder why we think he's so much worse than Frank Clark. We have to give Frank Clark 10 times as many snaps. But I understand why you're not excited to put him out there. Compare him to Boye Mafe his rookie year. He wasn't a great pass rusher this year, but he was so good against the run and overall was a quality player, and we felt comfortable putting him out there even late in the season, even knowing that there were going to be some things that he didn't give us. So you add it all together, and you have a rookie edge rusher who is not really living up to billing yet. So what I want to ask, the reason why I'm talking about all this, I'm trying to explore here. Obviously, Derick Hall is not going to really make much of an impact as a rookie. That's already done. There's not really much he can do at this point. Clearly, he's lost the trust of the coaching staff. He's not going to get a lot of playing time unless people get hurt. And at this point, his rookie year is just kind of a whatever. It's not a complete loss because he did play a lot. He was active for every game. But it's not going to be like Mafe's rookie year. Mafe's rookie year was consistently decent. But here's the question. Are you worried about Derick Hall long term? Should we be concerned about Derick Hall's status going forward? Because this was a second-round pick. We should have high expectations. So, has Derick Hall's rookie campaign gone off the rails to the point where we as Seahawks fans should be concerned, big picture-wise? So, I think there are a couple different elements at play here that make me think it's too early. And that should kind of go without saying. This is his rookie year. When I was younger, when I was a teenager, the rule of thumb was you got to wait 3 years before you know when it came to rookies. And I feel like over the last couple of decades, it's gotten to the point now where everyone thinks, okay, 2 years. The timeline has quickened a little bit. You got to show it within 2 years or else it's not there. So I definitely don't want to accelerate that by another year and say you got to show superstar stuff as a rookie or else it's just never going to happen. I'm not saying that, but let's talk this through here. First of all, just on the very basic level, straight up, Derick Hall is another player that we all kind of knew was going to be a little bit of a slow learner, little bit slow on the uptake because he was considered a raw prospect coming out. Now, I would argue that Mafe was more raw. Mafe was one of those guys who didn't start playing football until he was much older than the average draftee. But I would say that Derick Hall, we knew he was going to be a work in progress his rookie year. We shouldn't be shocked that he's struggling to pick things up. It seems to me, watching him play and looking at the numbers and looking at what people say, he doesn't really know how to handle defending the run right now, which is reflected in his grades and his numbers and is also reflected in the fact that this coaching staff doesn't want to play him. So I do think that we need to be understanding of the fact that Derick Hall was always going to be it was always going to take some time for him to actually get ramped up. And second, I think that we have to look at this coaching staff a little bit and understand what they're looking for and what they want in players. Because, look, I don't care how bad Derick Hall is when he's on the field. I don't care how much he hurts us. There's no way it's worse than what Frank Clark is doing. Frank Clark gives us nothing. So even if Derick Hall gives us nothing, that's still better. At least Derick Hall has potential. At least he's young. At least he can get better. So the fact that Frank Clark is getting snaps over Derick Hall, to me, is almost certainly indicative of a mistake being made by this coaching staff. And we've seen this from Pete Carroll before. We have. We've seen him go into situations where he's trying to decide who to play, and he decides, I would rather play a player that I know for a fact is a D plus than a player who could be anything, but he might be an F. So because I don't know, I'm going to play the guy who I know is bad, because at least I know he's not atrocious. And in his mind, because Frank Clark is a veteran, because Frank Clark has been around a long time, because he's had such a long and productive career, he can trust Frank Clark to not make the obvious mistakes that Derick Hall would make. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but we saw this with Marquise Blair. Marquise Blair was a great example. Marquise Blair had a lot of potential. Marquise Blair, excuse me. Blair, not Bell. But Blair, a lot of potential, but there were some problems. And either we could work through those problems by playing him and trying to figure out if he can get past those issues, or we can just not play him. And Pete decided to not play him. He played Tedrick Thompson over Marquise Blair. He traded for it was Quandre Diggs to keep Marquise Blair off the field. He did whatever it took to keep Blair off the field because he didn't trust him, even though there was clearly some upper level potential there. So this is kind of how this front office operates. That's why I think not front office, coaching staff. This is why I think Kenny McIntosh isn't playing. Yeah, Kenny McIntosh would probably be more dynamic, more interesting, and certainly more unique, more interesting, I think is the key word there, than DJ Dallas. But he looks at DJ Dallas and he goes, I can trust him because he's a veteran. I can't trust McIntosh. He'll make mistakes that DJ won't. And that's why McIntosh doesn't get to play yet, because he trusts DJ Dallas. So I think that's also at play here. And I would be understanding of that a little bit if we were actually like a good team. But this team is clearly just careening their season off the rails here. They're clearly, dive bombing into a crater. So you may as well play young guys. Some people would say Derick Hall's injured. I don't buy it. If he's so injured that he can only play 4 snaps in a game, then I think he'd be inactive. Like, what is this? An injury where, he can play 4 snaps a game, but you play him 5, he's going to re-aggravate the injury. 4 is good. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I think that if he was actually hurt like this, then he just wouldn't be playing. And the last factor is, and this is pretty important here, a vast majority of the time, and this is something the Hawks Nest talks about a lot, edge rushers take a couple years. Edge rushers that are gone in the second round take a couple years. The edge rushers that come out of the box and are studs are the guys who go early in the draft. First round, usually early first round, but first round. So when you look at a guy like a Derick Hall, who was still a second round pick, who was clearly not on the same level as a Will Anderson type, you have to be a little bit patient here. Now, I don't know if it's going to work out. It's possible Derick Hall never gets it. He never improves. But I don't think it's time to worry about Derick Hall long term yet. The rookie year has been disappointing, no doubt, but I want to see where this goes. And we have to understand that if you're not one of the true blue chippers, like super blue chippers, that rookie year is tough if you're an edge rusher. There's a lot you have to keep in mind. There's a lot you have to learn. It's not like Boye Mafe set the world on fire as a rookie either, by the way. He was better. He was better than this. I'd say a lot better. But it still wasn't great. Frank Clark wasn't great as a rookie in 2015. So that's what I think. Let me know what you guys got. I know there wasn't a lot of love for this pick when we made it at the time, so I think some people are coming in with a little bit of a bias against Derick Hall to begin with. So to me, that's going to be at play a little bit here, but I think we gotta wait and see at least another year. Get back to me in 365 days.